Hi there, and welcome to Chimp Chat, a podcast aimed at helping you get the very best from your Mailchimp account. Brought to you by those clever chimps at Chimp Answers, a Mailchimp Pro partner. Mailchimp email marketing is just what we do. Hello everybody, and welcome to a slightly earlier than advertised Chimp Chats episode. This is episode number 15. And Chimp Chats is where we give you the lowdown on how to get more from your email marketing and from Mailchimp, as well as giving you an update on what's going on in the email marketing world and things that you might need to be paying attention to. My name's Robin Adams. I'm the owner of Chimp Answers. We're a specialist Mailchimp marketing agency, and I'm going to be joined today by the delightful MaryAnn Pfeiffer. Now, MaryAnn is one of the top Mailchimp partners out there. She's someone I met probably about a year or so ago via Slack, and we've had several conversations. And MaryAnn is very much more focused on the strategy and planning side of things. She works with slightly larger organisations and supports them with their marketing. We had a fantastic conversation about strategy and planning and some of the things that you need to think about before you even get into kind of like playing around with Mailchimp and the details. So I hope you're going to find this really, really interesting, the conversation that I had with MaryAnn. As ever, if you've got any questions or queries, please put them into the Facebook group. We'll do our best to answer them. And I will now hand to MaryAnn. And oh, by the way, MaryAnn is one of our featured speakers at Chimposium on the 7th and 8th of October. If you've not heard about this or you're interested in attending, we're now in the early bird pricing stage. So you can basically get tickets at about 20% off, I think it is. If you're interested, go and visit www.chimposium.com. All the information's there, so you should be able to get everything that you need and hopefully come along. But for now, I'll hand over to the conversation that I had with MaryAnn earlier this week, and I will catch up with you at the end of the presentation, or the end of the chat as it were, to wrap up and tell you what's happening next time. Welcome to another of our very random but all about Mailchimp and email marketing interview series. I'm joined today by the amazing MaryAnn Pfeiffer. Hi MaryAnn, how are you doing today?
Good, Robin, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. MaryAnn's one of our featured speakers at Chimposium, and she's a Mailchimp partner and expert and works for her business, which is 108 degrees marketing, yeah?
108 degrees digital marketing.
Digital marketing. There we go. Well, okay, instead of me completely messing it up for you, why don't you just briefly give people the top line intro of who you are and the kind of like the type of work you do and the type of people that you work with, because I know it's very kind of like specific.
Well, we're a more boutique agency, so we are not everybody's cup of tea. We specialize in digital marketing. My team and I have experience. I mean, I'm like a dinosaur in the internet, space. So like for me, like I can go back to, I've done trade shows and I've done print and I've done fax marketing because I'm that old. But today where my company is at is we focus on digital marketing. We work with small to mid-sized businesses who are looking to expand their reach and get to the next level. So basically, we're not usually your first time you've sent an email campaign. We're not the first website you've ever launched. We're at the point where you have some kind of pivot happening in your business or some kind of growth happening. And we're the people that you call to sort of take you to the next level. So we do email, social, website content. We don't build websites ourselves. I have partners that do that, but we work with developing that whole strategy, as well as, working with search marketing and advertising and all of that. And brand building is probably the core of where it all comes from.
Excellent. Yeah, no, when you talk about that, I was thinking, that phrase, you actually used it. You help people and businesses take the next step, going to that, level up, as it were, which is quite appropriate because that's obviously the theme of the Chimposium event where we're talking about up-leveling Mailchimp. And you're obviously one of the speakers, so we'll talk about this a little bit more, but you just want to give people a little tease of the area that you're going to be focusing on at the event.
So I'm my particular expertise in my company. We all sort of have our own swim lanes. My expertise is really in sort of the strategy behind things, and so taking the strategy behind why you're sending email and sort of asking those 5 Ws, right? Because the how is MailChimp, but all of the 5 Ws leading up to that, to figure out the strategy so you can apply that strategy correctly using the tools that MailChimp gives you. So looking at audience segmentation, for example, you have to understand who you're talking to understand how to use segmentation correctly.
Definitely not. And this is one of the valuable things. And what we've tried to do in terms of the plan for the 2 days is the early part of the day is more of the strategy talk. So you're going to be one of the first people, I think, on day 2 who are talking a little bit more about strategy. So people can think about that strategy. And then later on in the day, we'll actually be talking about some of the specific ways of implementing and things that you need to bring. So works together. So to start off with, and we've got a certain affinity here because I too am a phrase, the digital dinosaur, as it were. So I started my marketing life when the internet was literally a mere pup, and I think my second job we started built my first ever website in 96, 97, I think it was. A little geek as you were. So how did you end up where you are today? So kind of like, what's the very potted history of your story to get into what you're doing now?
Okay, so my little once upon a time. So I worked in communications is my background. So I was the traditional marcom, and I worked in a variety of different industries, mostly in tech. So I went from tech and I went into sort of the .com e-commerce kind of thing for a while. And then 20 years ago, actually this year, I was 6 months pregnant, and I was, for the first time in my life, the person that got laid off in the layoffs. I had always been the person that got stuck with the jobs of 4 other people when everybody got laid off, and I was laid off. And if you know anything about tech, you know that women who walk into a job interview 6 months pregnant do not get hired. So I knew perfectly well that I was going to be on my own for a little while. So I decided to just strike out, figuring, well, I'll just consult for a little while and we'll see what happens. Fast forward 20 years and 3 kids later, I'm still doing this. It used to be just me, but it was a developer in me, and then it was a developer and a writer in me, and now it's 9 other people in me. And we are trying to, I'm still serving a lot of the same types of clients, but I'm just kind of able to serve them better and do more. So
it's really funny when I hear people tell the story of how they got started. And obviously we've spoken before about this, but I really identify with your story, because that was exactly the same for me. I got made redundant. I said, let's start doing some of this marketing consulting and we'll see what happens. And then, 10, 11, 12 years down the track, It's like, obviously it's worked a bit. I must know 1 or 2 bits and pieces. And obviously with the environment and the economic swings and ups and downs, I always say that it's really heartening to see businesses like yours that have kind of like whether the sun's shining or whether it's rainy or whatever, the business has continued to develop and grow, and that's got to be a real positive sign for people who come to you, because the fact of the matter is, because you've been doing it for a while, you obviously know what you're talking about, which is what people want first and foremost, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is, and it's so hard, and I deal with a lot of small business owners who are accidental entrepreneurs like us, right? They're like, I never thought this would turn into a thing, and now it's a thing, and I have to do something with it, and which is exciting, right? But scary. It's also really, really scary. And I was just looking at Emily Ryan had an Instagram post the other day, because she's just had her 3rd kid, and she was talking about how hard it is and ready to throw in the towel. It's like, we all feel like that. We all have those moments. And having done this for 2 decades, I've had a lot of those moments. But the reward that you get by having your own business and doing things for yourself. And I mean, I always say I'm not really my own boss. My clients are my bosses, but I get to pick them. I get to pick who my bosses are all the time. And that is all the difference in the world.
No, couldn't agree more. That's the best bit, and sometimes the worst bit. It's definitely the best bit of working is that you are in control. You get to choose. If you come across someone that you're just not vibing with and it's not working, you get to say no. You got that choice, as you were. So that's how you got into digital marketing. How did you get into Mailchimp? Where's the Mailchimp story start for you?
Okay, so back in the early aughts, right, we had websites, and I was doing email back then because there was really only email. There was no social media. Search marketing was still really, really
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot out there. So really, when I started my business, it was predominantly, marketing strategy and websites. And then if people were more advanced, we would move them into email. And so I had been sending email marketing since the late 90s. So like when you heard, you've got mail, I probably sent some of it. So, so, it was a very natural transition for me to bring Mailchimp into the business at that time. And I want to say I started using it. I'd have to go back to Mailchimp support and ask them to look when my login was first created. I know I've been paying for Mailchimp because I can see my billing record. I've been paying for Mailchimp since 2010. I am sure I was using the free version for at least a couple years before that. But I was using it for everyone, right? So I was setting up clients on whichever platform. So I had accounts with every single,
Yeah.
vendor that was out there. Because back in that day, in 2007, 2008, Mailchimp was not like the 800-pound primate in the space, right? They were just one of many providers. But over time, I think I gravitated more towards Mailchimp than to some of the others because it was extremely usable. Its pricing was really affordable. And I really liked the features. I think sort of on the background side, coming from sort of a tech background, I could tell that they were really paying attention to things like, you know, the respect for the domain and the respect for the inbox and integrity of your list. And I knew that in the long run, that made a difference in the deliverability of your email and the likelihood of getting opens and clicks. So if I wanted results from my clients, I needed the best possible provider out there. And 9 times out of 10, that was Mailchimp back in that day. And honestly, like they've still maintained that. That's really like the foundational core, I think, of what they do is making sure that deliverability, domain authentication, like all the stuff that you and I know as professionals are really required for a business to have a successful email campaign at the base level. They kind of bake that into how their accounts are set up and how you use them. So.
No, couldn't agree more. It's one of the things I speak to people when they come to me about GDPR or privacy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I always spin back is that if you're being ethical and above board with what you're doing from an email marketing, mm-hmm. you're automatically going to be, meeting the requirements for GDPR mm-hmm. and privacy, just because you're doing things the right way and you're treating people with respect. And that's certainly something that I know has come through from a Mailchimp point of view. So in terms of Mailchimp, what's the thing that you today, and obviously it changes, mm-hmm. but what's the thing today that you love the most about Mailchimp? Could be anything.
I would say, okay, I think for me, with the job that I do for my clients, I think the fact that they are so easily integrated with other systems, the plug and play aspect of Mailchimp, right? So whether I'm using, Salesforce or some other kind of CRM, or whether I'm trying to hook up something with e-commerce or whatever I'm trying to make Mailchimp work with for my clients, Mailchimp always works. And it's funny because I work with a lot of clients who, they'll bring me in because they're working on a huge integration, right? They're changing all their core software, they're changing their CRM, and they'll be like, but we want to keep Mailchimp and we want to make sure Mailchimp will work with everything. And so I am there to be like the Mailchimp guardian and make sure that it plugs and plays with all the other stuff, because it's this one piece of software everybody knows works. And it will work with so many different systems. So that I think is my favorite thing, because it allows my clients to maintain the integrity of their email program. So regardless of other core software changes, they can keep doing what they need to do. They have historical data. They don't have to retrain staff, and they will work with whatever everybody else wants to do, whether it's customer service or sales or accounting.
Yeah, one of the joys of Mailchimp is that because it's been around for such a long time, when you come to other tools that looking to integrate, mm-hmm. it's like, well, we'll do Mailchimp first. We'll do all these others down the track, but Mailchimp, I've got a number of CRM systems that I've been working with clients, and Mailchimp's the only thing. They're going to develop other tools and other bits and pieces, but Mailchimp's the only thing that they natively integrate with at that time, and I think that obviously is a big plus. Okay, let's flip it around, because we are transparent in our relationships with Mailchimp, and like any good relationship, there is moments where you think it's the best thing ever, and moments where, let's say, it doesn't necessarily tick the boxes. So what's the thing that kind of like the moment is getting you a little bit grrr about Mailchimp?
So, and this is no secret, I tell the Mailchimp support staff this all the time. So this is not going to be any news to them. Mailchimp is very, very deep and rich in the email capabilities of their software. They are less deep and rich in some of the other aspects of their offerings. So I'll take, for example, landing pages, which I love and I use a lot with my
Yep, couldn't agree
clients,
more.
but they could do so much more with that. The type of data that I could get out of landing pages, the ability to integrate more, or like, pop-ups. Like, why can I only make one pop-up per list? I want multiple pop-ups I can use in many places. Like, I look at other software providers that provide landing page type integrations, right? Like, for people that need that independently.
Yeah.
And I go, Mailchimp could so do what they do, and they don't. So every time they give me like a light feature, I'm like, oh, here comes websites light, like, it's good and it's okay. If you are at ground zero and you just
Yeah.
need something up there, it's good. But for my clients who are looking to sort of level up,
Yeah.
it just lacks, the depth that the mail software part of it really does have. So
Yeah. No, couldn't
I guess I
agree
want them
with
to
you.
be everything.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and I think this is one of the things that, the fact of the matter is that, to be honest, you and me, even though we are heavy MailChimp users, we're probably not the typical
Mhm.
MailChimp user. And as a consequence, this is where, kind of like for us, our frustrations, because we do go deep, is that when our desire to
Mhm.
go deep isn't reflected by the tools and the technologies on their side, we get frustrated.
Mhm.
Whereas the fact is, the average
Mhm.
MailChimp user probably doesn't necessarily need some of the things that we want in those areas. So they're happy with a landing page that's, providing basic functionality. They're happy with
Mhm.
the new stores and the appointments and the website side of things.
Mhm.
They're a great place to start. But yeah, if you want to take that next level, and this is one of the things that I know that pretty much most of the partner community is continually banging
Mhm.
back, is the fact that I know you want to go broad, MailChimp, but can you go a
Mhm.
little bit deeper on some of the things, like basic stuff like
Right.
landing pages? Why can't you?
Mhm.
Why don't we have templates? That's the thing,
Right.
that you've got to create a landing page, not publish it, and
Why
then
can't I create
replicate it.
variants? I want to have A/B split testing on a landing page, just like I do with email. And I guess here's my problem is that it's because I know Mailchimp can do it well, right?
Yes.
Because I see how well they do email, and so I know that they could, if they put that same amount of effort into this feature or that feature, we would get so much more out of it than any other provider that's out there. It also is very resource intensive. So, I mean, I guess I don't want them taking resources off of email. Stay there, but also do all these other things.
No. That it is one of those things where it's kind of like when you're trying to be all things to all men, you cut, kind of
Yeah.
like there's going to be certain things that you miss out. So no, couldn't agree. We still love MailChimp. We're not saying that we don't, but like any
Yeah.
relationship, you've got to have a healthy degree of communication. And when things don't meet what
Mhm.
you want, you've got to be comfortable be able to say
Right.
that. But just a reminder, everybody,
Right.
this is a pro MailChimp podcast. So, cool. Right. Okay. And in terms of, I always ask this question because it's something, it's a little bit different from the love hate. What do you think
Mhm.
is the one misconception that some of the people that you speak to, who, when you say, "Oh, we work with Mailchimp,"
Mhm.
and they say something,
Mhm.
and you're like going, "Well, that's not actually true." What's the one misconception that you want to kind of like batter and knock down about Mailchimp?
Well, I mean, the misconception that I see with my client base is that I tend to work with, like I said, slightly more evolved businesses, right? So
Yeah.
they're looking for the next level. So a lot of them think that they have to not use MailChimp. They're like, do we have to lose MailChimp? They're really worried about that because they don't know how much it can grow with them, right? Or they think that MailChimp can do more than what it can do, say, in terms of uh, like the CRM aspect of it. Like,
Yes.
it is a marketing CRM. It has marketing data
Yep.
based on emails, automation campaigns. It is not a CRM for your sales team,
No.
right? So I guess this all-in-one aspect is probably the biggest misconception because people don't really understand what it means. They either think that it means Mailchimp can't get bigger. I work with businesses that have lists of 100,000 people,
Yeah.
okay? Like, they can go very, very big if you need them to,
Definitely.
okay,
Definitely.
and manage a lot of stuff and manage a lot of segmentation and automation, all of that. But they don't really know what all in one means. So they either think that it's not enough or it's too much, right? And so I think that the clarity of messaging is something that I have to go, okay, so what is it exactly you want to apply? How do you want to use this software? What's your application? And that's my job to tell them, yes, it will do this. No, it won't do that. So yes, it can handle your list of 50,000 people, But no, we're probably going to have to use a different CRM for your sales team, your customer
Understood.
service team, in order to be able to interact with that data.
Yeah, no, finding
So
that right balance. It's it's the Goldilocks principle. Not too much, not too little, just right. And I think there are a lot of people who out there who think Mailchimp can't do this, and it can. But conversely, there are people who go, well, if it can do that, it can do this, and it's like, well, actually, no. So that framing of where Mailchimp actually sits in their overall, stack of tools, as it were, is really important. So. Cool. Right, okay. So, we'll now broaden it. Now we've done our love for Mailchimp, as it were. We'll broaden it a little bit. What, in your experience, is the most common mistake that people make when it comes to email marketing? So not Mailchimp.
okay,
Here
this
we're
is
talking
going to
just
sound, in general,
Yeah.
it's going to sound really self-serving, and I don't mean it in a self-serving way at all. But I think the most common mistake is they think it's like social media. I see the same thing. Everybody thinks they can do it themselves or hire their teenage kid to do it, right? And really and truly, email is something that is part of your professional business communications and should be treated as such. So if you are not a professional communicator, if that's not what you do for a living, then you need to consult with somebody who does do this for a living, because you need to understand where email belongs in your program, like in
Yeah.
your overall communications program, how you should be using it, what types you should be using, what platforms make the most sense for you. You really should. And it's funny because I see this a lot with businesses that come to me that are service-based businesses, and they try to set everything up themselves. They did a terrible job and they're coming to me to fix it. And I'm like, listen, you sell personal training. When somebody buys, $3,000 worth of gym equipment and puts it in their basement and then hurts themselves and comes to you, what's the first thing you say to them? You really should have consulted a professional before you jumped into this,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing, right? So I'm not saying you've got to hire Robin to like set everything up soup to nuts and run it, from day one. I'm saying you need a meeting with him.
At least.
And the thing is, I find that Mailchimp experts are extremely accessible, and we all have some sort of like consult audit type of service that we'll provide that's low cost and affordable, but it gets you off on the right foot. It makes sure that you're using email for the right thing and with the right audience, with the right message.
Totally.
So.
It's funny whenever people kind of like a number of experts out there, people basically buy me for an hour or 2 hours, as it were. And actually at the moment, a lot of them do it for one-to-one training. So they come to me and they go, I don't know how to do this or that. 10 minutes into the call, that is not the problem that they need solving. It's actually that taking a step back, and it's like, all right, okay, so I know you want to segment, and I know you want to do this and that, and we'll come to that later in the call, but it's fairly clear that you haven't even got a clue what you're doing to start off with and how it fits together. So let's get some strategy structure in place, and then we can get into the how you do that from a detailed point of view. People spend so much time, and again, this is the dare I say, the double-edged sword of having the accessibility that Mailchimp has got, is that so many people go into Mailchimp, and because it's the freemium model, so you can do lots and lots of things at the free level. It's like, well, if they can, if that's the case, then why do I need to pay anyone else? Because it's free, I should be able to know how to do it. And for those people, certainly for those people that you're working with, and a lot of people that I get to, they reach a certain point of expertise, knowledge, and confidence. But then taking that next step up, they're thinking, well, actually, if I know the technology and what to do there, I can do the other bit. When in actual fact, it's the other way around. You want to do the planning and structuring and take it to the next level, and have someone else worry about the actual technology and how it's going to happen.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the sites are. So couldn't agree more. All right, so a couple of, again, similar questions that I've done in previous interviews, but it's great because all of your answers are completely different to everyone else's. And that doesn't mean to say you're right or wrong. We've all got our own perceptions. So if I came to you, and this is probably not your typical type of customer, but I came to you and I've never done email marketing before, but I'm pretty confident that email marketing is something that my business would benefit from. What would be the first couple of things that you would say to me to get me on the right track?
I mean, I guess That's hard because I don't have a lot of those customers, but, when I don't I mean, that's just not who I usually work with, which is totally fine, like, but I
Yeah.
know everybody starts somewhere. But I do get people who will come to me who are like friends of friends or friends of business associates. They're like, "I'm trying to figure this out."
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to, who are you talking to and what do you need to say to them and why do they care? Right? So first answer those questions for me, right? Because if you're in business, yes, email is what you should be using. Like, unless you're selling to like 12-year-olds who use TikTok, okay? Email is a very viable and important form of communication. But we got to start with who you're going to send it to and why they care. That's where I start. And then I start to say, okay, well, this is maybe the right tool that you need, or this is a concept you should be thinking about. And,
Yeah.
because they go, oh, how often should I send email? Well, that depends. Well, what time should I send the email? Well, that depends. Like everything depends. And what does it depend on? Who you're talking to, what you want to tell them, and why they care.
Yeah. No. It's those fundamentals. When people come to me, it's almost like, how do I do email marketing? I go, well, remove the words email. Concentrate on marketing as a concept and communicating who your audience is, why they should pay attention to you, all that type of stuff. Then once you've got that, you've got a strategy then you can decide which tool or which avenue you're going to actually use to do that. And like you say, it's very easy when people can dive into the nitty gritty. And the problem with, again, a tool like Mailchimp, it's so accessible and easy that people have a tendency to dive in before they've actually asked those fundamental questions. And the fact is, if you ain't got those fundamental questions answered, it's not going to work whatever you do. So no, agree completely. No. All right, this one is definitely more in your thing. Okay, so I come to you and I've been doing email marketing for a couple of years. And I really want to take it to the next level. So what would you say to someone who came to you and said, I'm good, but I want to be better? How can I what are the things that you've spotted that they can be doing better to take it to that next level?
Okay, I'm going to start with the same 3 questions. Who are you emailing? What do you want to say? And why do they care? Because really, that's when I look at people who are starting out, why they don't start out right is because they can't answer those questions. And when I look at people who have been doing it for a while and aren't really getting the results they want, it's usually because of the answers. They are not answering one of those questions. They know who they're talking to.
Yeah.
And most of the time, they know what they want to say. It's the third question, the why do they care?
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have that answer because why they care really dictates what you should be saying, how you should be saying it, what kind of responses you'll receive, right? And if you start to look at your metrics of opens and clicks and where people are going and the behavior that you get, that last question, why do they care? Not why you want to send it.
Yeah.
Not why you think it's important, but as you said before, you are not your audience. Yeah. So why do they care? And answering that is really, that gets into like the real dissection of, okay, now that we know why they care, now we're going to sort of restructure your program around the things they care about, whether those are their pain points, whether those are their inspirational moments, whatever it is, to get them to take an action and to get them to engage with you. I think my biggest beef is that people look at email as a way to push their messages out in people's faces. And that is absolutely not what it should be.
No.
It should be engagement.
Yeah. And this is, like I said, you speak to someone who's hands-on with Mailchimp all the time. They're going to be talking about giving a completely different answer to what you just said. You've kind of like, you're taking that, without sounding stereotypically businessy, as it were, the helicopter view of the overall thing of what they're trying to do. But but a couple of things that you said there, it's going to that next level. So it's not just sending an email; it's understanding who's opened, who's clicked, who's engaged, how have they reacted. Taking the segmentation down one step further. So instead of just speaking to 2 groups of people, you're speaking to 3 or 4 groups, and you can start being more targeted from that point of view. But it all comes from those core questions of who you're speaking to, why should they be paying attention, what do you want to say? Combining those things into kind of like specific answers that makes a huge amount of difference, as it were. All right, so
it really does.
Yeah. So right. Okay. So obviously this is quite good because we've got a nice theme through today of the three questions and understanding them. And we're probably going to turn around and I've got another question which I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say to the answer to this. Okay. But let's focus a little bit and give people a little bit of an insight into what you're going to be talking
Okay.
about in Chimposium. All right. So
Okay.
when you talk strategy, when you're talking about the top line strategy, what are the kind of like, what would you say are a couple of things that people would need to pay attention to over and above what we've talked about already, that you're going to kind of, that you're probably going to be touching on in your presentation about your overall email strategy? Give people a little bit
So
of
so
tease.
little tease, little tease. So I wish I said I could go to my presentation and have it all written and tell you what it is, but I haven't gotten that far yet because we have a few weeks. So and I really want to make sure everything is up to date and everything.
Definitely.
But so I'm going to talk at the high level of the strategy of these questions, right? But then I'm going to take that and apply it to the tactical side of, so as we talked about, like, who are you talking to, right? So who you're talking to gets into how you use your audience. And so I'm going to take the broad question and ask a lot of broad questions to help people sort of narrow down their focus.
Yeah.
And I'll try to give some examples as I can to help them see where I'm going. And then say, all right, well, now that I have this meaningful piece of data and I understand this about my audience, how do I translate that into something in Mailchimp that I can use to target my messaging to that person? Right. And really customize that messaging. When I talk about like goals, like, you have to understand what you're trying to set for goals, and you have to make those goals measurable, because otherwise you're doing all this for naught. Like, you've got to understand what you're trying to get to. So I'm going to say, all right, let's talk about your goals. Let's talk about what you're trying to get to. And now let's look at where you would see that in Mailchimp and how you'd use the tools in Mailchimp to measure that type of information and see if you're making progress towards your goals. So really, that's what I'm going to be doing, is sort of taking strategy and putting tactical application to strategy.
And that's what everybody wants to some extent. I'm quite looking forward to it, because it's that you've got people who can talk big picture at the top, the strategy, and then you've got the people who are very good at the implementing at the bottom. But the people who make the difference, people who kind of like can really help, are the people who can connect the two together, who can see the strategy and the planning, and then being able to apply it and say, well, that means this at this level, or this means this. And there's so few people out there, especially when we're talking about Mailchimp. And one of the things that I love about this event is that we are independent. We are not Mailchimp. We're in discussions with Mailchimp to get some more involvement from them, but it's not a Mailchimp-led event. It's a partner-led event. These are the people who are using Mailchimp on a daily basis and actually having to apply it. And I think that's one of the, I've seen some other conferences that are over the next few months that got, big headline speakers like, Oprah Winfrey or Snoop Dogg or whatever. And I'm going, that's great. And I'd love to listen to Snoop Dogg talk for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and this, that, and the other. But I need to know how to create a specific segment in Mailchimp, and Snoop Dogg ain't going to know that. Arnie is not going to be able to do that. And I think that's one of the key things that's going to set this apart from a lot of theirs, is the fact that, yes, you will get that understanding of the strategy in some of the talks we talk about, but it's also the nitty gritty of this means at this level. And I think that ability to translate is going to, make the whole thing work really, really nicely. So, no, really looking forward to it.
I agree.
Really
I agree. And I'm actually looking forward to hearing the other speakers speak. I get a ticket, right? Like, if I'm speaking, I get to attend.
Yeah.
That's what I try. Because all the people who are speaking, I know a lot of them. There's a couple that I just know through the Mailchimp Slack channel. I haven't had a chance to chat with them, but I know, like Alessandra knows more about automation than I think anyone at Mailchimp will ever know. Like, she's just so good at it. So I am looking forward as a speaker to going to hear the other speakers, because I know that the areas that they're talking about, they have more in-depth knowledge than what I have, because we all do different things. So how we apply Mailchimp is different. And you know what you know, because this is what you do all day long. So hearing how somebody else does their job with your tool, right? Exactly. Blinders. It's that idea that, like, I can go listen to, I'm going to learn. There was some Slack channel discussion we had the other day, and Alessandra was like, oh, this is what you do. And she had this like long discourse. I was like, oh, I never would have thought of doing that, just because because she uses the tool differently than you or I do. So she has a different perspective. So I'm excited about that. So, I mean, to tell anybody, like, it's not just for newbies. Like, certainly if you're new at MailChimp, there'll be a lot there for you to learn. It'll probably be like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
But, you know, even if you're experienced, there's going to be a lot to learn there, which I'm excited for. So
it's funny you should say that. I've got doing an interview with Alessandra in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm really worried that we're just going to disappear into Mailchimp automation speak, and it's kind of like 10 minutes. You know, after 10 minutes, I'll look at the watch and go, we should get back to the kind of like stuff that most people will understand now. So, now looking for it, and but that's the great thing is that because, and this is one of the things that, you know, Simon a couple of weeks ago was talking about. This is the thing he loved about MailChimp is that he's talked about the partner channel. And the great thing about the partner channel is that, you know, kind of like we've met through the channel. We've got lots of other, and all of the speakers are people who come forward and who we've had conversation with the partner channel. But we all do think MailChimp is a tool we all use, but we all use it differently. We've all got our, well, we do it this way. I mean, I was speaking to, you know, Lindsay Carroll from Outbox last week, and we were talking about forms tools that you use to integrate with MailChimp. And her response to my question of what's your favorite tool, I was like, I would never have thought of doing it that way. And I'm, you know, kind of like, I'd do it a completely different way. It's like, oh, not thought about that before. And I think that's the joy of the fact. It doesn't matter what level you are at MailChimp, speaking to people who use it every day and know how far you can push it, and push it to that level regularly. It doesn't matter whether you're starting out or you're kind of like taking things to the next level, you are going to get a huge amount out. So I'm really looking forward to that. Right, the last expert question I can offer before we go into our quick fire round. What separates the people who are good and are successful at email marketing and MailChimp compared to everyone else?
Oh, that is the entire Chimposium. I'm sorry, there's not a single answer to that. That is, it's everything. It's how you think about it from a top-down perspective, from like a strategy, like having a strategy, not having a strategy, understanding how a tool works, not understanding how a tool works, knowing your list. And, you know, I have clients who have very teeny tiny lists that some people would say, why do they hire a professional marketer to send out to that list? And I say, because they want results, because their list might be less than 500 people, but those 500 people are the top 500 buyers in their industry. And every click is dollars. So knowing your list, knowing how to motivate, know how to work with what you have and how to grow it. Like, there's not like a single answer to that. That's
I knew as soon as I was asking that question, I'm not going to get an answer to this, but because like you say, there are so many different things, and it depends on, you know, it comes from our perception. So my perception of what's the thing that separates the wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad, it's going to be based on my experience, which is completely different for you. And there is no, like I always say these types of things, there's no right and wrong answer. There's just good advice and experience that we can bring to the table. So basically, but having a strategy, that's a really, really good step in the right direction. Right, okay, before we give you a chance to have a rant, which we always let people have, let's go through some random questions just to kind of like get to know MaryAnn a little bit more. All right, start, Mac or PC?
Oh, you can't see in this view, but right there is a Mac Plus circa 1986, which was the very first computer I ever worked on. I told you I was a dinosaur. So it's not even a question.
Fair enough. Favorite food?
Chocolate.
All right. Cooking or takeout?
Oh, takeout.
Really? Oh, having said that, yeah, kind of like, you know, there's a difference between me living with my wife and a cat and you having 3 kids. Yeah, I go, I love cooking. Yeah. You're going, I've got 3 kids, I haven't got time to cook.
I haven't cooked in years. Luckily, you know, our grill is really quite close to the door, so in the wintertime, we don't have to shovel too far, so my husband can get out there to grill the meat. Otherwise, you know, it'd be cereal every night.
Okay. Guilty pleasure?
Probably too much Netflix. It's, when I
And
have the opportunity, it's just on all the time.
okay, and on that theme, favorite comedy program.
Um, I don't watch a lot of comedy, so
Okay, well, we'll expand
I
it.
don't.
Favorite
I mean,
favorite
I
Netflix
like.
show.
Okay, right now, you don't laugh. Right now, I am watching for the third time around Downton Abbey again. I don't know why. It's just comforting. It's. I really like the people. Who doesn't like Maggie Smith? She's like the best character ever.
There you go, Downton Abbey. What can I say to that? Favorite film?
I, um, you know, I consume so much. I don't think I have a single favorite. Probably Star Wars franchise, but definitely not the prequels or the sequels. Like definite core
Cool,
franchise,
cool,
4,
cool,
5, and
hardcore,
6.
hardcore. The originals,
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, Empire Strikes Back. If I have to pick one, I'm gonna go Empire. So
Okay. Favorite tool to capture people's details on a website, so form tool, landing page tool, or whatever.
probably Unbounce, because I can do a lot with it, which I wish Mailchimp could do.
I used to be I've stepped away from Outbounce a couple of years ago, but I used it for a couple of years myself and really liked its
Yeah,
flexibility. It's a really, for
yeah,
that type of front end data capture, landing page
yeah.
creation, it's incredibly flexible, and
It's
I too have
easy, it's
jealousy.
quick, it's variants, it plugs and plays with everything nicely. You get the Zapier hooked up, it goes all the data goes everywhere you want it to go. It makes my life easier.
Yeah, cool, cool, cool. Right, okay, so that ends the brief quick fire round. So Downton Abbey, chocolate, and not cooking. That's what I took from that. Right, okay,
All
so
right.
you now have an opportunity to get on your soapbox and preach.
Okay.
Okay, we all have our touchstones. We all have our things that really get our goat, or oh, I can't believe I'm having to say this again, but, and you still say it. So,
Mm.
right, so basically, you've got a couple of minutes now to get on your soapbox and speak to the people who listen and watch this, and give them some words of wisdom
Okay.
that of something that you're going, why are you still doing this? Go for it.
Okay, so the pet peeve that I have with email that people come to me with is you hear people say, "We're going to send an email blast today," right? We're just get a blast out to the list, get it out quick, right? The idea, first of all, who wants to be blasted at? It does not sound fun at all, okay? I don't want something blasted at me, nor does your audience, okay? What you are sending with email is a one-to-one communication between you and that person. Now, you might be sending 10,000 one-to-one communications at one time, but to the person who receives it, they are not a blast and they are not a 10,000 person. They are one person and they are giving you the privilege of having a one-to-one conversation in their inbox. Please treat it with that much respect. So respect the name that you're putting on your list, the interest that they have in your product or services or organization that they're trying to support, the interest they have in the message that you're sending, and respect their time. Now, some people will want to read a, 4,000 word, dissertation, and that's okay if that's what your audience likes. But if they don't put them through that. Otherwise, they're just not going to read it. So I guess it's respect for the inbox is my soapbox piece. And I'll give my own plug in the fact that I wrote a book about this because it peeves me so much. And it comes out tomorrow actually on Amazon. It's called Precision Email, and it's called seven engagement strategies, 7 lessons in engagement strategy. Because I really believe that the one thing I have taught my clients over the years is that email is something to engage your audience with. It's something to make them understand you and learn from you and respect you and build a relationship with. Now, you may also foster that relationship in social media conversations. You may foster that relationship at in-person events, but email is the thing that lands in their inbox, on their phone, on their laptop on a regular basis. And if you treat that with respect and you use that to build engagement, you will not just build customers, you will build brand advocates. You will build people who truly care about what you offer and how you offer it. So I tell stories of my experience doing that, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in the book. So people are welcome to read that. And it is anonymized so that no clients need to be unduly embarrassed.
Definitely, you've done what quite a few of us want to do, which is actually go to the extent of writing a book, as it were. So it's very inspirational to know that you can still run your business and do all these bits and pieces and have time to run a book. And in your case, manage a family of 3 kids and 9 staff, and still contribute as you do to all the various things that you do. So in terms
Sleep's
of
kind of elusive, Robin. So
okay, so in terms of how people, so first of all, you talked about books. So just repeat, how can people get a copy of the book? What's it called? And again, is it's going to be out on Amazon yet?
it's out on Amazon tomorrow. It is called Precision Email 7 Lessons in Engagement Strategy. You can look under my name, MaryAnn Pfeiffer. If you can spell that, good luck to you. And you might just look for Precision Email. That's probably going to be easier to find.
Cool. So yeah, by the time people listen to it, that will be well established and entrenched out there. So go and have a look for Precision Email. It's certainly something that I will be digging and having a read through, because I've always valued my conversations with MaryAnn. She really knows her stuff, and because of the way she's taken to her business, and obviously she knows what she's talking about because she's been doing this for such a long time. All right, so apart from the book, how can people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about you and 180 Degrees digital marketing?
Well, we have a website, of course, which is 108degrees.com, number 1, number 0, number 8, and then degrees with an S.com. Or you can look for us on social media under 108 Degrees, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. It's under me, so it's 108 Degrees MKTG. We're also on Instagram. I have a social media team who is awesome, so they may have put me on other channels that I don't know about. There could be more coming. I'd say start at the website and work out from there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, really just want to say thank you for being very generous of your time today, and also all of your experience and knowledge. I know I've picked up a couple of bits and pieces and reinforced a couple of things as well, but I love having conversations with you. They're always entertaining and energetic, and I think there's a phrase now in the Slack channel of "Have you been MaryAnned?" So everyone listening to this now, you've had the experience of MaryAnn, and I hope you got as much as that from I do. But really appreciate your time today. Obviously, we'll be conversing again between now and the Chimposium. But for those of you out there who, if you want to get the pure MaryAnn experience, unadulterated, uninterrupted by myself, then make sure that you get along to chimposium.com and sort yourself a ticket out for what's going to be the Mailchimp event of the year, as far as I'm concerned. So look forward to that.
I agree.
So, thanks very much, MaryAnn. Really appreciate your time, and I hope to catch up with you very soon indeed.
Thanks, Robin. Take care.
I hope you found that session really, really useful. I love chatting to MaryAnn. She's got a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge about digital marketing. And to be quite frank, spending half an hour in her company just talking about the various things that you can do with MailChimp email marketing, and the broader sense of email marketing in terms of strategy and planning, which obviously we discussed quite extensively during the interview. It's something I think anyone can benefit from. So hope you found that really useful. As ever, if you're interested in basically coming along to the Chimposium, you can get tickets. You can visit chimposium.com, and basically if you go there, we're currently at early bird pricing. So the pricing, I think at the moment, if you get it before towards the end of September, the pricing is $129 for a live ticket, and $249 for a live and full set of recordings ticket. So go along there. And obviously MaryAnn mentioned her book. If you go onto Amazon and search for Precision Email Lessons Engagement Strategy, I'll be putting a link into the Facebook feed for this so people can actually look at it. But just have a look for Precision Emails. Look at for MaryAnn Pfeiffer as the author. You'll be able to get hold of that, and I guarantee that there's going to be some fantastic stuff involved in that. But for now, just want to say thanks as ever for watching and listening wherever you are. Hope you found it really, really useful. We'll be continuing our podcasts, as it were, with interviews. Next week, we are going to be meeting with David Sandell, who is another MailChimp partner. I've actually never spoken to David directly in person, so it's going to be interesting. I know David's very hot on the e-commerce side, and he's also more of a he's got more of an interest and knowledge in the whole APIs and development side of things. He's a bit more geeky than I am. Not that we're going to geek out in the session. He's still an extremely knowledgeable person about email marketing as a whole. So hopefully you're going to find that really useful. Again, that video is probably going to come out on Friday lunchtime UK time. So if you're in the Facebook group and you want to watch that live, that would be fantastic. But for now, thank you very much for watching and listening wherever you are. You can obviously pick up with this on podcasts on Spotify and on Google Podcasts. You can obviously catch up with this directly on our YouTube channel. So just basically search Chimp Answers and you'll see the video there. And for those of you who are want to see it on our website, if you go and visit our blog, it's a regularly updated blog, so you'll be able to go there and watch the video as well. So thanks very much for watching and listening wherever you are. I hope you have a fantastic week. If you haven't got your Chimposium tickets yet, go and have a look at the website and learn about that. And we'll catch up with you next week for more interesting Mailchimp chat and knowledge to help you get more from your email marketing. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast really helpful, then here's what you can do next to broaden your understanding of Mailchimp. You can join our free Facebook group. It's the biggest Mailchimp support group in the world. Just search Mailchimp Answers on Facebook. You can take our free Mailchimp Medical to find out the health of your Mailchimp account and what you can do to improve it. Just visit chimpanswers.com and follow the prompts. And of course you can get in touch with us. If you like one-to-one support, advice, tips or whatever, just visit chimpanswers.com, which also has got one of the largest resources of Mailchimp blogs and advice available out there to get the information that you need. Thanks again and we'll see you very soon.